Hello everyone, my name is Evan LaGreca and I am from St. Joseph's College, a graduate student studying my master's in literacy, and I'm also an economics teacher at Brentwood High School. And I'm here to talk to you about active literacy in the classroom. Now, before we get started, why literacy? I believe that literacy is one of the most fundamental skills needed not only to be successful right now, but successful in the future, no matter what the job is, no matter what qualifications you may need for to be career and college ready. Literacy will always be a humongous, prevalent skill needed and valued throughout every student's, every person's life, and every situation. So, active literacy is something that is going to help promote that. First, let's get us a definition clear of what is literacy. I mean, a lot of people know the old definition, which refers to the ability to comprehend, evaluate, and produce reading and writing. And even today, when we say literacy, I believe that's what gets emphasized. However, more recently, multiple literacies is something that literacy specialists have been focusing on. And that's the ability to comprehend, evaluate, and produce written, visual, spatial, audio, gestural, media, digital, and linguistic ways of communicating. So we're starting to recognize that there are more ways that students need to be literate, whether it's from technology, whether it's from media and digital ways. The ability to comprehend and to be able to decipher information and communicate information in these ways has become increasingly important. So here is a good modern definition that I think is good to go off of. Literacy is the way teenagers make sense of their world. It is how they literally and figuratively use the tools of education combined with their own personal experiences to comprehend and understand the today and more importantly the tomorrow of their lives. It includes skills such as being literate in reading, writing, speaking, listening, viewing, technology, and interacting with people and the environment. Also, the ability to invent, design, create, compute, and communicate so that adolescents can make critical judgments, identify and solve real-world problems, and become productive citizens who lead rewarding lives. Wow, I know that's a lot, but basically, you can see how literacy has become so much more than reading and writing. It's all encompassing. It encompasses life-like skills, life-important skills that comes from everything from their own personal experiences to um, making critical judgments, solving real world problems, and even becoming productive citizens. So the modern definition is definitely a lot more all encompassing than we're used to, but it's going to be essential as teachers to implement this in the classroom and beyond. So that brings us to active literacy. The word active should already give you an idea of what active literacy is. It's a framework for the classroom, and it involves active participation from not only the teacher, but mostly the students. It's a student engagement. Uh, the goal of active literacy is student engagement with all forms of text. Whether it's traditional print, visual displays, media, or digital tools, the emphasis is on interaction between the learner and ideas. And how this is different is because we usually think that, we can do independent work with students with just reading and writing, but we find that involving literacy in things like literature circles or active journals that students can discuss, or having cooperative group learning, or just student-based inquiry is actually far more effective when implementing literacy and active literacy in the classroom. Here's a description of what active literacy might look like in the classroom to get even a better idea by Stephanie Harvey. Classrooms that promote active literacy burst with enthusiastic and engaged learners. So even that the word she uses could tell just the enthusiasm that an active literacy classroom might see. Teachers aren't the only ones doing the talking. Kids weigh in with their opinions, thoughts, and ideas. They talk to each other, have inner conversations with the text, leave tracks of their thinking, and converse in book clubs and literature circles. Kids are actively questioning, connecting, inferring, discussing, debating, and inquiring throughout the school day. So kids, students, they're the ones who are becoming actively aware of their own literacy progress, of their own thinking, and becoming aware of their learning process themselves. We are using language for the students to make them realize when learning is occurring, when they are thinking with the text. And we do this by having them have questions, having them talk with other students, and having them really discuss and really write what they are learning, what they are thinking throughout the entire process of what we're trying to teach them. And this is an extremely effective method, and an extremely effective way to run a classroom. Language is very important in implementing a structure like this because language can be used to create a climate that encourages kid participation or shuts them down. Asking open-ended questions prompts thinking that helps develop thoughtful, independent thinkers and learners. So if you have, if you create an environment where you're just doing all the talking, it doesn't really lead for students to be able to think and try to add in their own opinions and thoughts. But if we word our questions in a way that's inviting to thinking and inviting to have students use their own opinion and thought, it becomes a lot more diverse, dynamic for learning. Having the students adopt a common language for thinking, reading, and learning helps them track their thinking and monitor their own learning. So, like I said, when we give them language, let them know what to say when realizing that they're learning, when realizing that they're thinking, it makes it easier for the entire class to become metacognitively aware of the learning process that's going on. So this all comes down to explicit instruction, and it's up to us to kind of help model how to do this. Students just don't have dynamic classroom environment naturally. It just doesn't come about. If you just told students, okay, now talk, it's not going to be the most effective. What we need to do is provide that for them. So think alouds, read alouds, interactive read alouds, the lifting the text, guided discussion, anchor lessons and anchor charts, reading for deeper meaning, and sharing our own literacy by modeling with adult literature, so seeing how we do it, are all examples of how we can model proper classroom behavior, classroom environment that will allow for productive discussions, productive interactions between students and the text that you're learning. Another great thing, and I think this is something that most teachers implement, is when you talk about reading, you turn and talk. You grab a partner, and you talk about the material you just learned. Jigsaw discussions, have each person take on a role. Book clubs and literature circles are perfect. And even having study groups are all ways that students can dynamically talk about what they're reading. And this is huge for developing their literacy skills. Because just like regular learning, when you do cooperative group work, it is a lot more effective if you're able to combine the perspectives and the ideas of other students around you to help cement and solidify your ideas and your thinking and your learning. Now, writing about reading is very important too, because we assume that students know how to annotate their notes, how to annotate their reading, just by saying to highlight, but they don't always know what to highlight. Usually you'll see a full page full of yellow, and you don't know what's important and what's not. We need to teach students how to determine importance, how to let them know just because something may be interesting doesn't mean it's crucial information. So maybe use a pencil or a pen instead of a highlighter so you can jot in the margins what you're thinking as you're reading. You can develop your own symbol system. You can develop the questions you're having as you're reading and write them down. If you don't understand something, say it, write it down. So when the student goes back into it, they can see that and they can identify it later. And another great way to help do this is just basically tracking your thinking. So how can we trace back what we thought besides writing the margins? We can use sticky notes, think sheets. We can have a journal, literature logs, notebooks, wonder books. And you can have them express this artistically, dramatically, musically, anyway, historically. There's a plethora of different ways we can have students write down what they're thinking, what they learned, what questions they had. And the more we are able to do this, the more they're able to go back and identify what they were thinking, attack it, and address it. Now, in the content areas, active literacy is very important because we are able to implement inquiry-based learning. And basically this quote right here The conventional pattern says that the first students acquire knowledge, only then do they think with and about the knowledge they have absorbed. But it's really just the opposite. Far from thinking coming after knowledge, knowledge comes on the coattail of thinking. As we think about and with the content we are learning, we truly learn it. So he's saying that as we are learning, we think about what we're learning and reflect upon it, and that's when true knowledge occurs and true learning occurs. And I tend to agree with that. So how do we create an environment for thoughtful content, literacy, instruction? Well, there's plenty of ways. We can create learning opportunities. We create learning opportunities by focusing on comprehension and understanding rather than memorization, making sure we ask higher order thinking questions and things on the doc that require students that are rigorous and require multiple steps for students to solve. Connect real world issues with connect us with the real world and real life issues. Connect the content with things they can relate to. Engage students' interest and enthusiasm. Encourage student choice and independent thinking, and provide time for thinking to take place. Another way we can create this kind of environment is to demonstrate our thinking or their thinking. We can illustrate what good thinking looks like. We can focus on topics and ideas worth thinking about. We can support attitudes and interactions by emphasizing a common language, by encouraging and respecting different viewpoints and perspectives, by supporting students' enthusiasm. And also we can even have and create artifacts for thinking, so we can, and the result of the thoughtful work can send the message that thinking matters, make thinking visible, involve sharing and teaching others, illustrate the process of thinking and learning, and a plethora of other things we can do to kind of help support and create this environment. I'm a social studies teacher and economics teacher myself, so there are plenty of things that just as a social studies teacher that we could use to help this. So some of the things that I thought of are interactive read alouds with picture books. I mean, there's a lot of great picture books that you could use in the classroom, and I think picture books are really good to do this with because when you see narratives about historic events, there's a lot of great picture books that really show emotions or show drastic war scenes that students can really get a lot of information from still. Read, view, and react to primary sources so students can look at a picture and respond to it and see what it shows us, what does it show us about the time, and make inferences and talk about it with other students and make connections with other pictures during that time or pictures from a later time and see how they can compare. You can have book club discussions. You can read Anne Frank's diary and have a literature circle about it and have students dissect and really discuss what they are learning, what they found interesting. You can create concept maps or visual representation of events, people, and ideas. I mean, this could be anything from timelines. This could be teaching them just to really organize and share the important information they are learning in a graphic organizer. And I think that's really a key way to help students organize their information. You can construct timeline of historical events, of people, of history, and Time Toast, if you don't use it already, is a great tool for that. Some strategies for science that you can even use is science journals and teaching books. So after you do an experiment, you can have students write in their journal what they thought about it, what they thought was cool, what they learned. And again, anytime you can get students to really interact with their thinking and reflect on their thinking, it is so vital to the learning process, and it is going to help them really transfer their knowledge from a basic level to a more substantial, more important, and more deeper learning. You can do anchor charts that document thinking and how it evolves. You can do an anchor chart of the life cycle. You can do an anchor chart of the scientific method to help them solidify how that works. And you can really just kind of all the experiments and the labs that you may do, have them make a chart really talking about or documenting their understanding of how it goes. So that's just a basic introduction to active literacy. Active literacy is a framework in the classroom, and really it's based upon every part of your classroom being a part of literacy. and having the students actively engage with that in their learning. So I hope that you guys try and implement it more. Thank you. Have a good day.